It's that time again. The Football Supporters Association Awards are back, the FSAs. And once again, we have been nominated for Podcast of the Year because, of course, because we're the current holders.
Yes.
Vish is holding the trophy and his trophy at the same time. We won it last year, and it was the scenes of celebration were fantastic. A year has passed since we ended the Guardian's reign of terror. And just like
public service, Marcus, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
A massive public service.
Yeah, what we did.
He's trying to get people to like us to vote for us. Don't do that.
I should just let him do it.
And just like Emi Martinez with the World Cup Golden Glove Trophy and the Copa America Trophy, I want a second chance to hump a beautiful piece of ceramic in front of lots of people.
Just remember that. I'm going to put that down.
I think you've earned that.
Yeah, I do too.
I have. Victoria Derbyshire was hosting the awards, and Sam Matterface was handing me the
You did that in
award.
front of Victoria Derbyshire.
One of our great illustrious broadcasters.
Yeah, I mean, it was the thin end of the wedge, so to speak.
You promised the listeners you'd do it, though. To be fair.
It was. I mean, FSAs. They're a great association, and it's a very, very, shall we say, liberal crowd. When I did that, I thought, have I crossed a line there?
And I thought, I hope he has.
There would have been a point where you get the award and you see it's Victoria Derbyshire.
Yeah.
And think, big fan of your work. I'm sorry for what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The listeners have demanded.
And then all you hear is just the sound of a zip.
I didn't go that far.
No, you didn't.
But if
Well,
you want
I
me
mean,
to
there's
go
this
that
year.
far,
Yeah.
if you want me to go that far, then get involved. Now, I want to remind you of a song that our friend Chris Roger did last year for us. It was a campaign song, and this alone is a reason why you should vote for us for the FSAs. Take it away, Chris.
You gonna give them a night on the town. Give them your vote. The Dose will go home early when the Ramble wins the cup. Give them your vote. Beat Jim and Vish will drink the free bar dry. Give them your vote. Get cheap kebabs and then they'll all throw up. The wet wipes at the Guardian won't know what to say when the Ramble dominates their mat. The FSA. Vote cheeky boys and we all get what we need. Give them your vote. No more years of hurt, so mute the lightning seeds.
Come on.
There you
It's
go.
lovely stuff there.
A victorious one as well. It got us over the line.
It got us over the line.
A bit of
So,
Lennox Lewis as well, because his accent changes about 3 times. Lovely stuff.
well, now that's last year's victory song. We want something new.
100%.
We have high standards and demands here. Chris Roger, thank you so much for that song. Chris, if you want to get involved, or if anybody else does, if you reckon you can create our 2025 FSA anthem, then get in touch, show at footballramble.com. But more importantly, as Chris was singing about there, we want all of you to go and vote for us in the best podcast category. I can't stress enough how brilliant it was last year that you got us over the line, and how certain individuals didn't appreciate it as well. So
Yeah.
Are you saying it was a vote that annoyed the right kind of people?
Barry Glendenning called us 9-time failure the Football Ramble.
he doesn't say that anymore.
But you know him quite well, don't you? Like
Yeah, I know him,
that's
but
tongue in cheek.
I like Barry, yeah.
We all like
but were
Barry.
people genuinely irked that
I think there was. Do you know what? I actually didn't hear it when the music played and I went up on stage, but there was a bit of an easy from
Lovely.
certain sections of the crowd.
great.
You know,
we
the
got to replicate it.
the people's champions.
we got
Was
to-
that Sir Trevor McDonald?
I'd say so.
We've got to defend it. We have to.
Yeah. So the link is in the show notes, and it would genuinely mean the world to all of us if we could clinch it again. Because I was always told that it was impossible to wrestle it off the Guardian.
Yeah.
And you had to really, and you all banded together with us, and God bless every single one of you that voted, because I can't stress enough how brilliant it was. So let's make it happen again. Let's go back to back. So please go and vote now. As I say, you can do it on the FSA website. The link is in the show notes. Get involved. Right. Let's talk about some of the football that happened last night. Aston Villa beat Maccabi Tel Aviv 2-0 at Villa Park. Lovely goal from Matson to get it underway.
How did he squeeze it in?
Wow, did you see the way he kind of shuffled his feet?
It was great.
Oh, gorgeous.
I was trying to think of a more acute goal than that. The only one I could think of was that famous Roberto Carlos one from way back in the day from quite near the corner flag.
Yes.
I don't know how much he meant that
Different
one.
type of finish.
Very much so.
Oh, he
yeah.
definitely meant it.
There was
Right.
that
Right.
Antoine Semenyo one earlier in the season.
There
It from a
was.
very tight
against
angle.
Fulham.
Yeah.
I mean,
was.
that one, through the keeper's legs, it was a good finish. This one, though, I feel like the assist, you kind of think it's a very low XG on that. I know some people hate XG, but the assist has to be precise. But even when the assist, was it Sancho played the assist? Whoever it was,
I think it was Rodgers in the end. Sancho had a nice bit of play.
Oh, okay, right.
Rodgers, yeah.
When the ball is sort of popped over, you think it's the only area you could put it in. But even then, it gives Maatsen a lot to do. So fine margins, but a delicious first goal.
Did you enjoy how much it kissed the crossbar on the way through as well?
I always enjoy a kiss
of
of
the
the
crossbar.
crossbar.
It was a kiss of the crossbar, wasn't it?
It's the sort of finish, because it happened so late in the half, that I always enjoy, where a team are just absolutely sick to death of it being 0-0. Like, I'm stuffing one in here, however I have to do it before we go in for half time. I'm fed up with this.
And better news for Aston Villa was that they scored a penalty.
They did.
Finally.
Yes.
Daniel Marlon had a really good game.
He was
actually.
great. He was really bright.
Very
He was
lively.
Really bright,
Quite a slow start to his career at Villa. And I think he's a player that it was very obvious there's a lot more to come from him.
Yes.
And he's started to show it. He's had a couple of really good performances lately, and that is an absolute boon for them.
I sometimes you have this with players coming to the Premier League where to get up to speed in the Premier League, they take a little bit of time. But when the European games come along, they kind of shine a little bit more, you might say. And I think that he's definitely been a bit of a brighter spark in European competition for Villa.
It feels like a shop window for them, doesn't it? It feels like, there's so much football being played, squads have to be bigger. And then players like Marlon, Sancho in this case as well, one or two others, get a chance to actually play. Maatsen, Maatsen himself, he's not really been selected over Digne that often.
No.
They seem to like Digne's experience. And Luca Digne's a good player. But for Maatsen and Marlon to both get on the score sheet is a real bonus for them, because Villa started the season very, very poorly. They were really disjointed. It looked like it possibly that Emery was starting to run out of ideas a little bit. Now, they've been better since. I think the go-ahead Eagles thing was a real kick up the arse for them, because obviously they followed that up by beating Man City. Weren't great against Liverpool. So they've been a bit unpredictable, but I think it's obviously important for them to be winning games, particularly in the competition that Emery is synonymous with.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while though, isn't it? So
Has
he's
been a wee while.
probably looking at that thinking, you know what, this is my competition.
Yeah.
You stuff that ball in that net just before half time.
Yeah.
We're going to have a proper crack at this.
Daddy's home.
Exactly.
Because at one point, Ange was saying it was kind of going to be his competition. That's not gone well.
Yeah. That's if Ange can win it, then Unai can again. Surely, Vish.
Yeah, I don't see why not. The Marlon thing is interesting because it's very beneficial for Villa that he's playing well, because I felt like they lacked a lot of width at the start of the season, and there was a bit more competition when he joined, and the fact that he was left out of the Champions League squad at the turn of this year was quite telling. And as Luke said, he had quite a slow start. I didn't really rate him, to be honest. I didn't feel like he had what it took to be at the level that Villa were aspiring to be at. But, he's been a huge shot in the arm for them this season, yeah.
Certainly in Europe, yeah. I feel like it would be a real piss take, or not a piss take. It would be a tough one to take if you weren't picked for your club's European squad, like Matthias Tell. It was highlighted.
Tough blow.
Because I know people might say, well, you get a bit of a rest and whatnot, but everyone's on a jolly up.
Yeah, it's like not being invited to a party and seeing it play out on TNT.
We're off to the continent for it's not a jolly up, is it? But, there might be a bit of fun and frolics thrown in, and you're just...
He's just scrolling through other players' Instagram being like, that looks nice.
The worst thing would be as well if you'd really contributed the season before to actually help them qualify, and then you've been left out in the cold.
Conversely...
Like one of the in-betweeners.
Conversely, it was probably like a show of status that Cole Palmer, for instance, was left out of Chelsea's Conference League squad.
Yes, that
True.
was the first
it can work both ways.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Mate, this is too small potatoes.
Don't bother with that. Don't bother with that. Yeah.
Oh, no, I wouldn't if I were you. No.
Probably easy to convince him not to worry about it. That's all AI stuff, mate. That's AI. Don't worry about that. That's not really happening.
No, you've left the AFC on. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Am I going to go to Kazakhstan? No, don't worry. We'll save you for the final.
Yeah.
And they did. Nottingham Forest drew 0-0 away to Sturm Graz. And Morgan Gibbs-White missed a penalty.
He's having a funny season. I keep saying it. He keeps contributing to the theory. There's not much I could do to change it if he won't change it.
Would it help, or would it be a distraction if, for example, someone held a firearm to him while he was playing?
Possibly. I don't know if it would be a real progression for the sport if people were going on pitch and putting a gun to players' heads when they're taking penalties. I'm happy to give it a go in a trial period. FIFA might trial it.
It would be odd,
in the Confederations Cup.
If you're running, if you have a big run up, the bloke's chugging up next to you with the gun. It would look strange.
The person who's likely to do that wasn't there, was he? For reasons.
I'm not going to Austria.
You can have those delightful Mozart chocolates, which I'm an absolute bastard for.
That marzipan?
Big time,
Oh, yeah.
Marcus brought some of those back last time he was there.
Yeah.
Love marzipan, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. much more than court cases.
Yes.
But I mean, there was a few missed penalties last night with the English clubs. I mean, Gibbs White was there. I mean, a disappointing one for Forest. And Dyche was sort of bemoaning some of the missed chances and whatnot. They did look a bit flat.
The funny thing with Forest at the moment is having had such a sort of strong, clear identity under Nuno for the last season.
And Ange.
And, well, that's...
It's still an identity, Jim,
kind
accept
of
it.
the point I'm coming around to. It's like, that has just gone completely, isn't it? Obviously, Ange has muddied those waters quite spectacularly. So we've got an idea, I suppose, of what you're going to get under Sean Dyche, because there's a broad idea of what to expect from a Sean Dyche team, but we're not really seeing any of it yet. They're just so unpredictable.
Let me tell you why this is a bit like the start of Scream 2, the movie.
Oh,
Okay. So why does Sean Dyche basically lose his job at Everton?
Because he kills a college girl.
Because he had the ghost face on. No,
Yeah.
because his team can't score.
Can't score goals.
They can't score goals. And it becomes such a big thing that he's actually even getting to the point in press conferences where he's saying, yeah, probably someone else could be doing better at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he loses his job.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I know Forest scored 2 goals against Man United. Anyone can do that, respectfully.
Liverpool only got one.
They couldn't score against Bournemouth. They couldn't score against Sturm Graz. They missed a penalty. And at the start of Scream 2, when there's the first murder,
Yeah.
one of the characters says, it's happening again, isn't it?
Yeah.
And all the others go, no.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not.
yeah. So who's Neve Campbell?
But it is. Sean is very much Neve Campbell.
Do you think?
I think so, yeah.
No,
I think
he's
he
too.
is.
No, because he.
Okay, he's a little nerdy guy.
Yeah, I'm
The
struggling here.
ginger nerdy guy.
Surely would it be Gibbs White who's Neve Campbell, who's just looking around horrified, going,
I've got to get out of this. I tried to get out of this, and someone may or may
I
not
just
have
want
held something or other to my head.
I just want a normal year on the
Yeah.
campus.
Is
And
he-
Gibbs White saying, I just want another normal
Who's
year.
Ghostface? If Angelos Marinakis is Ghostface.
Well, he's definitely wearing the mask, isn't he? Yeah.
Can you imagine him stumbling around a big townhouse, falling over?
But would he bother to wear a mask? Like, would he
Probably,
would he
I think
care
he'd
about the
get in-
anonymity?
Is it
Oh,
fair to
who's
say?
that? I wonder who that's what
fair
that
to say.
silhouette is.
You'd know it was him.
Yeah.
You'd know it was him. Yeah.
I've got his wheezing down the phone.
Elliot Anderson's Gal Weathers, played by Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
Glamorous.
So is Sean Dyche Jamie Kennedy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The
Right.
little nerdy guy. Yeah.
Yes.
The little nerdy guy, yeah.
Does the nerdy guy survive in that?
I think he does, yeah.
He
remember.
becomes the murderer, doesn't he?
Don't think so, no. Don't think so, mate.
Oh, spoiler.
I think they all become
It's
the
not a
murderer
spoiler
in the end.
because it doesn't happen.
I think the murder.
You can't just make something up. That's a spoiler.
Yeah. And the
Well, you'd have to watch and find out.
The killer's actually Neve Campbell's father.
Yeah.
Her character.
Yeah.
He has a limp and then he starts walking in the film.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, Forest host Leeds on Sunday.
But if they don't
Which is
score against Leeds,
well, I'm
is it
telling you,
happening again? It
Well,
might be.
I think. Look, when Dyche goes there, we understand why. You know, it was such a disaster under Angie. It had to change. In goes Dyche with his big grin, and he
Best
brings
man at Brian Clough's wedding, of course, wasn't he? But, Godfather to all Brian Clough's kids.
Yeah, including
He- well,
Nigel
he don't-
Clough.
he-
weirdly.
Yeah.
No, well, he sired Nigel Clough, didn't he?
So
anyway.
he's basically Nigel Clough's real dad.
Right, enough of that bollocks. He brought Stone and Wone with him, and suddenly the feeling changes. And I think people thought, Dyche is going to get us back. And it's like, remember, that's Sean Dyche, okay?
yeah.
And I think that the situation at Forest, it became, oh no, we're not looking up the table, we're looking down the table.
Yeah, it did.
This is like, if this continues, then we're in danger of being relegated. That's how bad it was under Ange. You get Dyche in, and it's as much as a guarantee of anything is that you're probably not going to get relegated because he's an astute operator at that end of the table in the Premier League. As you saw, for example, with Everton with limited resources, you also saw his Burnley sides, etc. So I know he had a relegation to CV with Burnley, but that's why they got him in. So don't be surprised if they go away to Sturm Graz and actually they don't win the game.
Don't be
and
surprised if
a
he
bit,
can't find his passport. 'Cause he's never managed in Europe properly before.
but don't be surprised if the football now, from now until the end of Dyche's time at Forest, whenever that is, and I fancy it maybe to be actually the end of the season, it'll be a bit flat and it'll be a bit nah.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. And people might say that's really unfair on Dyche and say, well, actually, has he had a squad like this before? Perhaps not. I don't, this is probably the best squad.
Works both ways, doesn't it? If he's not had this kind of squad before, does he know how to use it?
Yeah, and I think...
Does he feel... a motivation to use it in a more attacking way.
And don't get me wrong, I was pleased for Dyche that he got that job. He always wanted it, and fair play. And I totally understood the feeling among a lot of the Forest fans. But again, when they host Leeds on Sunday, that's not a given.
No.
And he needs to put those ones away now because
100%.
there's the honeymoon period was that win against Porto, and fair play, they did that. But now, as you say, Luke, you start looking at the results and so on, and they've got work to do. Not as much work as Celtic.
Set the tone, Martin.
Yeah.
Did Martin O'Neill set the tone, do you reckon?
Oh my God.
It was like a problematic uncle at a family event.
Problematic?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you why.
All right.
Because, well, you're going to say basically that the headline for you, Marcus, is that he seemed to fall asleep in the pre-match press conference.
It appeared.
Yeah.
We can't say he did.
Yeah.
But he was, if you haven't seen this, in the pre-match press conference, he's asked a question and he sort of drifts off, doesn't answer the question, and then appears to be startled and sort of has awoken and said, sorry, I was still thinking of, and presumably the previous question.
And then he has
which he may well have been doing.
And then he had a big pop at Kasper Schmeichel, who sat next to him, saying he's never going to live up to Peter Schmeichel's reputation.
Well, he did that classic
He actually, why can't you be more like Peter Schmeichel?
Exactly.
But he did that classic Martin O'Neill thing where it appears to have a dig, and then he sort of thinks to himself, that is a bit harsh. And then he goes, well, he's only, like 4 or 5 caps or whatever it is off his father.
10 caps off him.
Was it 10 caps? And he goes, so, I mean, that's a hell of an achievement. But
it was one of those things.
But you are here sat next to me, so.
But it's one of those things that certain men do of a certain age.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know about this.
Yeah.
But you don't know if they're joking or not.
Yeah.
And it's high risk in a press conference. Is all I'm saying,
he's thrown his drink on him and then tried to just sort of get a towel and dab it. I understand.
I think I know what's happened there. We all know that Martin O'Neill likes to, or certainly used to like to, attend murder trials in his spare time. And we've all seen from Murder of the Week TV shows that sometimes you realise that the single thing that's the key to cracking the whole case at an inopportune moment. So I think he's essentially just solved the murder in that press conference and has had to style it out in case the murderer is in the room, perhaps.
Is that what they lost 3-1 to Michelin?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Probably, if you look at the footage, he wasn't even in the dugout. He was off securing the clues.
I would say, Jim,
like Amorim, he had a tactics board, but it was just full of suspects.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're suggesting he solved the murder before it happened, which was on the pitch.
Yeah, there was a murder.
Present for the murder.
More like Minority Report style.
Yeah.
Less the investigator, more a witness.
Yeah, true. I still don't get a naughty uncle. I mean, sometimes your older relatives, they just have a kip and they're not being naughty. They're just a bit older.
He does say rogue things, though. Do you remember when he was a pundit? Was it the '98 World Cup?
Yeah.
Like he is prone to
having a go. He was at a nice little ding dong with Michael Antonio on the pitch side at the City Ground the other week.
Yeah,
he did, didn't he? Yeah.
And then there was also where he was boasting about how many Champions League winners or European Cups he's won.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he was sat among I can't remember who were there, but they were
a lot of impressive players.
Was that when Robbie Williams was there? He was rude to Robbie Williams as well, wasn't he? Who's famously not won any European Cups.
He's won the so far. He's won that charity one at Old Trafford a few times.
True.
Yeah,
it's domestic though, isn't it?
Well, look, I mean. What I love about that is going back to Martin O'Neill, we're going back, 20 odd years, 27, 28 years for his weirdness.
I also, personally, I met him at a do last year, and it was about, everyone had got up from what they were doing, so it was about 11 p.m, and he was like a decent amount, he'd had a decent amount to drink, as we all had.
Under the surface.
And he was very charming and said a few things that I was like, that's really funny. I don't know if I know you well enough to laugh at that.
Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of
thing?
Yeah.
Also, there's a kind of I don't think there is that far between XG is a load of nonsense and the world is flat.
Yeah.
For the worst types of that type of man of that generation.
Let's not forget his one-man relentless war against Keith Andrews as well.
Who is just
probably my favourite of all of them.
Just having a great time at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, long may it continue.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Old Sleepy Martin and Celtic lost last night.
Martin.
3-0. Rangers lost 2-0 at home to Roma. Don't worry, Celtic fans will balance it up with that. Their 7th European loss in a row and their 16th defeat of the 2025 calendar year. Oh, sorry, that's a negative thing, isn't it? I just sort of read that as if it was, well done, they've done it. They unveiled a Roman soldier TIFO before the game, fitting as Roma were in town. The soldier had a Rangers shield and helmet.
I mean, it was a good TIFO.
It was a good TIFO. I'm fairly indifferent to TIFOs generally, but that one was a good one.
It was.
I imagine this is historically accurate, but the soldier in the TIFO was just wearing sandals on his feet, which meaning the feet are very clearly the weak spot.
Yeah.
And that feels fitting.
Yes.
For what then happened.
Yes.
You got to use your feet a lot.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, there's no shame in losing to Roma, is there? It's just it's the other 15, isn't it?
It's annoying if you're a soldier.
If you're
They keep going the extra mile with sticking with Roman soldier and old.
If you're an old firm team, I'm not really sure how you find the room to lose that many games. It's just
I mean, actually, as well, the Romans famously never got to Scotland.
No, exactly.
Well, no, they
more
did.
shameful.
No, they did get to Scotland, but they didn't conquer it.
Well, fair enough. But still, they've done it now.
But you're right, Jim. The point you were sort of making is yes, they yeah. Poor from Rangers and Celtic, must do better. But of course, it's all about the Hearts in the domestic scene, who are rocking and rolling their way to the title, as they may not be saying it down the Tynecastle. Anyway, let's move on as swiftly as possible from that. Crystal Palace beat AZ Alkmaar in the Europa Conference League last night, 3-1.
That's how you do it.
Another missed penalty, but it didn't matter, Jim. They put them to the sword, beating them 3-1. It's funny because Palace, like in that first half, bombarding the goal. And if you look at the possession stats, like AZ had about 64% possession, yet Palace always seem to be in control. They just bloody love it, don't they? They just love hitting teams on the road. And that's one thing, because against AK Larnaca, sorry Palace fans to mention that one again, but it was, and I appreciate they beat Dynamo Kiev 4-0, but this competition is a little bit different to the Premier League for obvious reasons. But they are the team to beat, really, in this competition for a lot of people's money. So trying to then go, right, we've got to go on the front foot, we've got to go and hammer teams. All you got to do, give
demands of them are different, aren't they?
Yeah, totally. But I love the fact that they play like that, they score 3 goals, they're good value for the win, and yet they have about 35% possession at home. Glasner knows what he's doing there.
Go on then.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Try and score.
Well, I bet and score.
It was a really interesting moment when Jean-Philippe Mateta misses that penalty.
Yeah.
And it was quite difficult to discern it on the TV, but the commentary team seemed to think that he had been confused about a whistle in the crowd or something.
Yeah.
Which meant that it kind of completely upset his rhythm. And he didn't know when to take the penalty or not, and then he therefore
because he looks back at one point.
Yeah, big old sort of like Tim from The Office look to camera.
Yeah. It was a bit like that.
He hadn't heard the referee's whistle go.
That's what it was.
So he was waiting for that. He'd already gone.
Right. Okay. Strange.
Yeah. Well, Ismail Assar impressed for Crystal Palace.
Again,
That second goal of his, the third Palace goal in particular, was a lovely finish.
Great work from Mateta.
Yes.
In the build up to that as well.
Yeah. He's just flying at the moment.
They're both having really good seasons. They both are.
And a mention for Lacroix with that finish as well. Beautiful goal.
Yeah, he had to wait for his for it to be confirmed, didn't he? Then he very, very emotionally got onto his knees in the centre circle and celebrated properly.
Yes.
It was nice to see.
It was nice to see. Well, Palace, of course, are hosting Brighton on Sunday at 2 p.m. They won both of those games in the Premier League last season. So, what do we make of it this season, Vish, with Danny Welbeck doing his stuff for Brighton?
Yeah, I mean, like, Palace are the more functional team, aren't they? And that's not necessarily a diss to Brighton because Palace are having a lovely time of it. But it's quite hard to identify what Brighton actually are anymore. It feels like they hit a bit of a ceiling, in part because their model is based around finding value, cultivating value, selling value, and being able to just keep Danny Welbeck because he's old. But yeah, I mean, I do fancy Palace for this, but I think the way Brighton seem, the way it's flipped basically, and it's not just because Palace beat them home and away last year, but also just the general vibe around both teams has changed to an extent that it feels like this is Palace's to lose. And that hasn't been the case for a while.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Palace 9th, Brighton 10th, only 1 point separates.
It's really difficult to call it. They're similar level, I think. Palace are probably slightly better as a side, but then you've got to factor in the idea that Palace have played last night.
Yeah.
Brighton will have had eight days off by the time they go to play.
Possibly with Kara Matoma to come back from injury.
I think I think he will be back. I think there's talk that he will be back. Yeah, and also Marcus, the point you made earlier about the fact that Crystal Palace are best when they haven't got to make the running. And when you're in a home team in a derby game, I mean, the Palace fans will probably accept him playing.
I think that's...
But Brighton, Hürzeler's a good enough coach to not want to play into their hands, is basically what I'm saying.
I do think them playing on Thursday night is a massive factor here, though. Especially as they're not generally used to kind of balancing competitions in this way.
They don't rotate that much either, Palace.
Well, yeah, I mean...
They don't have that big a squad.
That's
right,
it,
do they?
Yeah. Which is something that I think people have been monitoring quite a lot with Palace, and thinking, will they be able to finish... fairly high in the Premier League, but I think again, like last season, it was very much the focus was on the cup, and they finished mid-table again. So it's kind of where they find themselves. I know what you're saying about, maybe Palace are slight favourites for this, Vish, or sort of paraphrase you there. But then, according to Fabian Hürzeler, Brighton have, and I'm going to take this at face value, the best player in the world at the moment, because he has said, I wouldn't swap Danny Welbeck for any player in the world.
I think Vish has hit on why, though, because if he had a younger player who was better, he'd just have to sell him at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's true. That's Brighton's sweet spot. A player that no one other team wants because they're too old.
Yeah.
They're going to put a team of absolute grippers out next season.
It's going to be brilliant.
Grippers.
Well, we look forward to that. All right, coming up after this, we've got another thigh rubber in the Premier League this weekend.
De Bruyne has the short option. He does have a splendid set of cards. I've got to admit, though, Jack Grealish down below in front of us.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Now, before we talk more about the Premier League, don't worry, the international break is almost here. Our esteemed leader, Thomas Tuchel, is literally announcing his England squad as we speak. That means we haven't seen the squad list, but don't worry, we'll be checking it as soon as we're finished. And then Luke and I will be giving you our thoughts exclusively on the Football Ramble YouTube channel later today. So search Football Ramble on YouTube now, or click the link in the show notes and hit subscribe so you don't miss it. It's going to be an explosive Football Ramble episode on YouTube.
It is. And by the way, the Ramble YouTube channel is one of the fastest growing football channels on YouTube. So you get involved.
Mate, it's popping.
Get involved. And if some England chat isn't going to dial up the temperature even more, I don't know what is.
No.
Well, we've got other stuff for you, haven't we?
Yeah. Marcus and I argued about Jude Bellingham for 10 minutes. Who doesn't want that?
That's true.
Yeah.
Me justifying Jordan Henderson's inclusion. All right, Manchester City host Liverpool on Sunday, 4:30. It's the big one, second versus third in the Premier League. Both sides coming off successful weeks in Europe. It's the 1000th match of Pep Guardiola's managerial career. And of course, that just a little tiny baby step closer to Steve Bruce, who has managed 1094 games in his career.
That's what gets Pep up in the morning?
It could perk Pep up.
Like a prisoner in the jail cell, just scratching another thing in the wall with big Steve Bruce head after another 94 games.
Yeah. I don't know. I think what you think, Pep's in the cell and Bruce has got he's jangling the keys.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And he's
Rita Hayworth.
on the wall. Oh, okay. He's the old Steve Bruce triangle goes jingle jangle past Pep's cell.
Who's won the most trophies?
That's harsh on Bruce.
It's not, is it? It's just two facts side by side.
Okay, I'm doing a little impromptu quiz.
You can't say reality is harsh on Steve Bruce.
My defence of an English manager's kicked in.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
You're picturing him having a lovely time on that slide or jumping into the sea.
Yeah, so basically what happens, Vish,
off a boat,
it's kicked in. It's an involuntary thing. I can't do anything about it, so I'm going to have
like a sleeper agent.
I'm going to have to struggle around and find an argument. So how many times has Pep Guardiola got Hull City to an FA Cup final?
Good one. When has he had to deal with, a disagreeable owner? We don't know.
Has Pep Guardiola got a son who also made it to professional football?
Yeah.
In a cup final as well.
In a cup
Guys,
final.
I'm going to list the achievement and I want you to say Pep or Brucey, okay?
You ready? This is going to test me.
Could be player or manager,
Right.
okay?
How many of
Weirdly,
these
a
are
lot like the generation game.
Are any of these going to be about bacon sandwiches?
Yeah, it might be. Who achieved as a player the Football League second division in 1986?
Yeah.
Was it Pep or Brucey?
That'll be our man Brucey, yeah.
Football League Championship runner-up 2007?
Once again,
our man Brucey.
Yeah.
EFL League One Manager of the Month in
Yeah.
September.
Not
when you put it
certainly.
like this,
Exactly.
it's looking pretty rosy for Brucey,
I'm changing
isn't it?
opinions.
Yeah.
I'm changing opinions.
Right. There we are.
Who won
Pep
6
never got
trophies
more.
in a calendar year?
Pep never got more England caps than Brucey either.
Yeah.
No, they've got the same amount.
Yeah. Anyway, Man City versus Liverpool, Vish. In the words of Beefy Botham, what are you thinking?
Don't
Ashes is
do
coming
that.
up. That's
not in
point-
an Ashes year.
That's pertinent.
It's
Ashes is
not
coming up.
pertinent. It's
No,
impotent. That's what it is.
This is exactly what we're talking about when we establish the level of smut that Marcus will accept.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is true, actually.
An Ian Botham willy-copter, not usually, but
Not
in
a
an
willy copter.
in an
It
actual-
wasn't a moving.
It wasn't a
photo.
copter.
as far as we know, it wasn't a copter.
No, well, it wasn't. He tweeted it.
What
I
are
know
we
he did.
talking
If
about?
he'd have done it-
There'd be motion blur.
There would be, yeah.
If he did a GIF, that would
Whereas
have been good. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? There it goes.
Marcus,
He's off.
in your opinion of seeing the photo, can you picture the photo in your mind?
Annoyingly, I can.
Yeah. Was there blood in it or not?
Oh, come on.
We've now gone past the globule that he will accept.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've crossed the smart threshold, haven't I?
I think you have.
Yeah.
One of the greatest all-rounders who've played the game.
Yeah.
But he did tweet out a photo
He
of his
did do
knob.
that.
He was
Tremendous,
only
by the way.
comparing, as we all know, he was only comparing the size of it to Ian Chappell's. Wasn't
Yeah. Right.
I think his excuse was he was sending it to his doctor with a kiss.
What you think?
Two kisses.
Hang on, right.
2 kisses.
Producer Rory has just threatened to come from, if you pardon the expression, behind the desk and step in at this.
He's
at this
a fellow man of the bat as well.
He is, but he's also a man of the ball, and
is.
that's where we've got to go back to. So, come on, answer the question.
What was the question? Is it like Ian Botham?
What are you thinking? What are
yeah,
you thinking?
Come on.
I think this could be the most fun game between these two for a while because they neither of them have something to hold. They are both chasers in this particular situation. I think the fact that Arsenal played the day before makes it all the more interesting. They need to basically take claw hammers to one another, and this has to be as much 3 points for one side as pushing away the other and creating a bit of separation to then actually properly chase Arsenal, because I don't believe Liverpool are back. I think the Real Madrid game was really important. I think the Villa game is nourishing as part of a run rather than isolation. I think the Real Madrid performance and the general vibe of that game, certainly the positive vibes of that game, are something they can actually build on. But Man City are flexing a bit now. I think they look magnificent in midweek, and I appreciate that. I think own goals, specifically from Estevez, is the second highest goal scorer for Man City, but I think that'll just rectify itself over time naturally.
Yeah, I think that's a weird stat because of the stage of the season we're in.
Exactly, yeah. But I really think this is, City are going to be favourites, and I feel like they have to do a number in Liverpool, and similarly Liverpool need to go there and really try and tear the house down.
I think it is a really important game for both these sides, and you've basically what you're just saying there. Because a victory would be a statement victory. But look, something Vish said there, he said they looked magnificent against Dortmund. You weren't as convinced, though.
They moved through the gears, and the scoreline makes it look like they were absolutely brilliant. But Dortmund had moments, and Dortmund threatened a fair amount.
Yeah.
And Dortmund did in my view, I kind of understand what Vish is saying, and I'll come on to why, just my slightly different but related take in a minute. But Dortmund weren't too bad at showing up the frailties that still exist at Man City. But my take on Man City is that they've benefited quite a lot from stronger narratives elsewhere in the top of the Premier League, right? So Arsenal, are they finally going to do it? Arsenal have sucked a lot of the gravity in just because they've been so good. Liverpool have obviously done everyone a favour by losing 4 Premier League games in a row and conceding so many goals and being a story in themselves. And this will be the first time you can ever remember Man City going under any kind of radar for any period of time since Guardiola's been there, and that will work in their favour. I think City are the biggest threat to Arsenal still. I think they could quite easily put a run together where they do really, really well. Mm-hmm. But to broaden it out slightly, this is genuinely a really fascinating weekend in the Premier League because the 3 big games are Palace v Brighton, Liverpool playing Manchester City, and Man United playing Tottenham. And every single one of them is almost impossible to predict. Like, it's impossible to predict what's going to happen in this Man City game. You don't know which team's going to turn up. Man City are perfectly capable of turning up and losing at home to Spurs or losing to Villa and not really looking that great. And Liverpool are capable of basically anything, like anything at all. So the point Bish makes about Arsenal playing the day before is also really interesting because I think, this might come back to bite me, but I think Stadium of Light is probably one of the toughest places to go at the moment. And I think the chat around Arsenal has been, it's not that they're just not conceding, it's that they're not even conceding like shots and stuff. I think Sunderland can get busy in that midfield and really disrupt them, and that'll be a real challenge for Arsenal. And if Arsenal don't win against Sunderland, this game becomes an amazing game to watch.
It would certainly get the crowd up if Arsenal don't win against Sunderland, although they would be favourites to do that, of course.
Big favourites.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of Sunderland v Arsenal, Granit Xhaka will be at the centre of everyone's attention.
I mean, we mentioned it last week, but Arsenal have equalled a sort of, I think it's a 122-year-old record of games without conceding a goal. And Granit Xhaka's got a hell of a left foot on him. Hasn't he? Scored his first goal for Sunderland recently. The narrative seems to point that way. And I think it's a very interesting proposition because Arteta is very sort of details heavy, very prep heavy, and Sunderland are an unknown quantity. And also Sunderland have absolutely nothing to lose by just, as you say, sort of getting stuck in and going full throttle, just doing what they do best.
Well, they do have something to lose. They could drop out of the race for Champions League.
They could, but the reward of going for it is worth it, isn't it?
Yes, no, I see what you mean.
So I don't think they're going to approach this game with any trepidation, which has been a really brilliant factor of Sunderland's season so far, which is that they go into games scared of no one, ready to be the protagonists, just absolutely on an adventure, enjoying every second of it. And that can be a really powerful thing, especially if you can get your crowd up early, which they're very capable of doing. So be an interesting test of this Arsenal team.
No, that's definitely right. The mood around the place is superb. After what happened in the previous 2 seasons to newly promoted sides, for Sunderland to be up there right now, the confidence that's pulsing through everybody's veins at Sunderland is something to behold.
And the blueprint of what they did against Chelsea is an interesting one, because Chelsea's strength essentially when they're good, Chelsea, it revolves around the midfield balance of Caicedo and Fernandes. But Caicedo is such a good performer. And as I mentioned a bit, I think yesterday, what Sunderland were able to do is pack that midfield with 4 players across the middle and really disrupt Caicedo. Because if you try and match up with him, you just get eaten up, really, unless you've got a very, very special player in there as well, which of course Sunderland don't have.
Well, Xhaka, I mean, in terms of
with levels to it, the point is that they packed it full of players and disrupted them, and if they'll unquestionably try and do that against Arsenal as well.
Well,
they'll do 5 at the back again, won't they?
Yeah, they will.
And no, Gyökeres is actually quite a big deal because
huge.
He doesn't. So it'd probably be Mikael Marino up front, and he's not someone who's going to try and run beyond them.
Doesn't press in the same way.
Yeah, he's not as physical as Gyökeres. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult. I still think Arsenal will win, but it is going to be tricky.
Now you mentioned Arteta and Granit Xhaka in the same sentence there, Jim. Well, Granit Xhaka has been speaking about Mikel Arteta's first day as Arsenal manager in a recent interview. And he said, at the training ground, we had a big room and there were some chairs in there, but the chairs were everywhere. Chaos. So Arteta took all the guys who were working in the building into a room and said, guys, from the outside, you look like this. Chaos. So everyone takes a chair and puts it in the right place, and he says, I want you to be like this every day.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that, because the first time Mikel Arteta, as he tells it, expressed frustration at how disorganised Arsenal were when he came into the club was while he was basically on the bench as a Man City member of staff. So it was actually before he even got in the building that he was looking at Arsenal going, what is going on here?
Do you not think he wanted the job? He was happy at Man City. He was like, well, someone's got to do this. Be the change that you want to see.
It's a Southgate style situation. It's like, all right, fine.
No
one else will do it.
Well, it is those little things that can make a difference, as Sunderland themselves found out when Roy Keane took over.
Yeah.
All those. You remember the instant impact he had?
Yeah.
And it was things like...
They shut up the table. They got
but
promoted.
he was saying things like, the corridor that we all walk through, is look at the paint's flaking off the wall and stuff. Get that painted properly. Get this place, looking spick and span. And there's something in that, I think.
Do you think we should do it here?
Well, I think we have. Look at the surroundings.
Looks all right, doesn't it? Looks nice. We presumably would be expecting an improvement in our performance. That's not happened.
Well, we'll leave that up to the listeners, but do vote for us for the FSA. Coming up after this, Cristiano Ronaldo has been chatting with Piers Morgan again.
God.
Spurs host Manchester United at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It gets the Premier League underway this weekend at 12:30 on Saturday. A repeat of that barn burner in the Europa League final last season.
Is there a sense, hopefully there is a sense from both of them that they really owe us some entertainment?
They owe us some goals, definitely, Jim.
Based on what I saw of Spurs at home last time, they're not capable of that. They can't. This is the most unentertaining thing I've seen for quite a long time.
Big win in the week, though.
Maybe Mickey van der Ven he's just got to take the...
I wish he'd done that against Chelsea. It'd been amazing.
It would have been.
He should at least try it at least once a game.
Well, you remember I was a
you
fan
were at
of
the game, weren't you?
I was there.
Against Copenhagen.
Probably what spurred it on.
But doubtful. Was your takeaway that they were good again, or they just weren't up against much?
They were better when they went down to 10.
Right.
And the reason...
It was such a strange game for that.
Well, it was, because
they were already 1-0 up when they went down.
2-0 was
2-0.
Oh, sorry, 2-0.
Were you impressed by Copenhagen in any way?
No.
Okay.
And that is a point to make.
Yeah.
But with Spurs, you saw them that when they went down to 10, they knew the game plan, and because they were 2-0 up, there's no point in just going, oh, well, let's just settle for a 2-0 loss here. They haven't won any games and they've been fairly poor.
And it's
the
really
Champions
expensive
League.
over there as well.
Very expensive. and their away fans had travelled in numbers and were making a good noise. So obviously they start going forward. And Spurs, I say, were devastating on the break. They were, but I mean, when young Mickey's leading the charge that.
And as we mentioned the other day, Christian Romero had a goal which led to João Palhinha's goal. It felt a bit like the last day of school, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like we're not learning anything. We're just going to play Monopoly, and we're not even going to play that seriously.
No, and they should have scored more. I mean, Richarlison had chances, and obviously the penalty. But one thing it could do is it could fill them with confidence, and it suddenly gave everybody a lift, and it was a much needed lift after that Chelsea game, because Spurs were desperately poor in that game, as we all spoke about and everybody saw. They needed a pick-me-up. And if I'm honest with you, at 1-0 at half-time against FC Copenhagen, I was thinking, they need something more here. I don't think a victory, a one-goal, maybe even a two-goal victory is enough here. I think they need to really kind of exert their dominance or their quality, which they did in a slightly unconventional way, you could say, with Van de Ven just scoring one of the great goals of I would say in Champions League history, I'd go as far to say that. But what that can do is that can get everybody, it feels like maybe a little bit of a reset from that little mini patch of bad form and get everybody going. Will that translate to a good performance against Manchester United? I don't know. But it certainly does give everyone a bit of a spring in their step.
The other way of looking at it is, and I totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
But the other way of looking at it is, if you look at the profile of player that performed well against Copenhagen going forward, Simmons, assist.
Well, it's
very bright.
But Simmons, a bit like what we were saying for Marlon, sometimes, in the Premier League, he's done okay, but you saw it again against Chelsea that he caught the bug and he, for the goal. Looks better in European competition, you might
Kolo Muani as well.
Yeah.
Odebear, who's obviously young, still hasn't really impressed, has been in and out the side. Bentancur in that midfield position looks like he's lost quite a lot of pace and finds it hard to deal with kind of top-level Premier League opposition. Chelsea just had Spurs' number. It felt like men against boys stuff. And I think the other way I'd look at it would be, Marcus, just that, they can do it at home against Copenhagen because they're just nowhere near the level.
Sure.
And you look at someone like, you say Simmons, like, he's been okay here and there. He was so off the pace, it was frightening against Chelsea. I mean, he looked low on confidence. He kept taking extra touches. He looked very slow. He couldn't get his foot in the game whatsoever. And clearly, what would suggest is the case about Spurs is that their away form's good, perhaps because teams take the game to them and they can do the things you talked about there, which they were able to do against Copenhagen because of some quite strange circumstances against a team who are nowhere near the level.
Which is what Frank was used to doing at Brentford.
Correct. The question is, how Man United are going to approach it at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now, I'd love to be at the game on Saturday. I'm not going to be there. I'd love to be there just because it's becoming really interesting being at a Spurs game and you're not a Spurs fan.
I know what you mean.
Because the fans are of a certain type and they can go either way. There's fans, actually, they won't thank me for this comparison, but there's been a lot of positivity around Frank because he seems like a very nice man. He's had a great career at Brentford. And, after the chaos of what happened at Ange, I totally understand why they'd be positive about it. But it's for a while now, partly due to the ownership, the Spurs fans have been in a position where they're just ready to go. They're ready to go all the time. And it reminds me, again, they won't thank me for the comparison, but it reminds me of towards the latter stages of Wenger. Arsenal fans just waiting for the first mistake to be made, the first stupid error, the first going a goal behind against a team who are worse than them and going mad.
We used to talk about it a lot, didn't we? The first groan at the Emirates
exactly.
set the
much
tone
like
for the
that.
rest of the match.
Well, it's funny because when you said that, when they're ready to go, I thought you meant, and it kind of goes into your point, is they're ready to go, as in they're ready to see their team really kind of
they are, but they're also ready to go the other way entirely.
Exactly, yeah, and that's how it can switch. And I think that, with Manchester United fans saying, but it's Manchester United kind of thing, there's almost an element with Spurs, not that, come on, we're Spurs, but it's, look at this stadium, how much money's been put into this squad, how many, previous managers have we had who have had top-level experience and blah-de-blah-de-blah. Come on, something's got to give. And with Frank, it was a slightly different type of appointment, you could argue, although you might have said that about Ange previously. And obviously, it started pretty well. The improvement was there. I mean, they're sixth in the table, 17 points after.
They're in a
10
false.
games.
They're in a false position,
but they are in a little bit of a false position. You're right, and I think that the last thing they need for those reasons is to get a poor result here, because suddenly everyone goes, right, yeah, Copenhagen didn't mean anything.
Yeah, and I think a bit of further evidence. It's anecdotal, of course, and it's not going to be indicative of the wider fan base, and you can't speak on behalf of an entire fan base ever anyway. But I remember at half-time during the Chelsea game, I was in the bathroom, and there's loads of Spurs fans there, obviously. And a couple of them were really angry about how poor Xavi Simons was, because I think they had so much hope for him because he cost so much money and has a great reputation. And they're talking about how shit he is. And all the other Spurs fans in the bar are just laughing.
Yeah.
They're just laughing about how ridiculous it is. Oh, Spurs done it again with this fucking play. He's an absolute dud kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is obviously probably wide of the mark, and maybe he'll prove them wrong over time, and you probably expect him to. But it's just funny. There was no kind of feeling of we're 9 games into the season, he needs our support, we're fans, he's going to be a great player in time. There was none of that.
Apathy's kind of set in.
I think so.
And I think as well...
A bit of cynicism, maybe.
Well, yeah, definitely, because people were saying, Spurs had a great transfer window, which on paper they did. So all this stuff's got to count. And against Manchester United, because of how both sides did last season and obviously finished the season playing in that Europa League final, I think there is something about this game that, again, it's one game, so one doesn't want to get over the top about this. But it is a game where people are going, is this some kind of reveal of where these two sides are now? Because Manchester United, there seems to be a bit of positivity poking back in there.
Well, it is a good test to see where Spurs are, considering they beat Manchester United 4 times last season. They won the Europa League. And then they're in this situation playing against that same basket case club. And, Spurs are also a bit of a basket case club. I mean, this is a bit like, this is the it's so over, we're so back derby, basically.
Yeah.
In terms of like how fans veer from one extreme to another. I think Xavi Simons is actually going to be really important for them this weekend, because while Manchester United have been better, what they're not necessarily going to get from Spurs is essentially thrust through midfield. And that generally has caught Manchester United out. Brighton could have made more of what they had of the ball when they played at Old Trafford and lost, but they didn't. Spurs don't play like that, but Simons can be a ball carrier. I think he's been quite low on confidence. We spoke about him after their win against Copenhagen, didn't we? About how he looked closer to the player that we think he's going to become than what he's shown so far. But yeah, Manchester United, they're not necessarily going to press Spurs in the way that Chelsea did, but they are going to be quite energetic off the ball, and I think that will be a bonus, especially with the, if you don't mind me calling this, Jim, the Wenger Arsenal factor of getting that moan in early and then Manchester United relaxing into that moan.
And actually, Man United might be able to use their sort of modern kind of reputation to their advantage there. It could be a lads, it's Man United situation.
Exactly.
Wind everyone
but
up.
I think if United have got any sense about them, and we know from all the Amarim's perceived faults, we know he's a details guy and he's very into the tactical side of the game, and he's got his own way of doing things. He would have seen that the only thing you need to do to limit Spurs, this current Spurs side with the injuries they've got, is you double up on Kudus.
Yeah.
You let Palhinha and Bentancur have the ball because they can't do anything with it, and you don't give Simons any time. Because you talk about Simons being a ball carrier, right? I get why in theory he is, but in based on the evidence of my own eyes and ears against Chelsea, he's nowhere near the level. Yeah. Nowhere near it.
Well, the Chelsea goal comes from the fact that he doesn't trust himself to do it anymore.
Exactly.
Because otherwise he doesn't play that ball back to Van de Ven.
And not only that, though, the sheer amount of attacks it would break down over and over again. It was that thing that people were talking about a few weeks ago with Salah, where it just breaks down every time he gets to him. It was like that, but without the masses of reputation behind you to insulate you.
Yeah, I think like if Simons does start, he's probably going to be out wide because they have so many injuries. They've not, or rather, Frank's not been able to call upon Kulusevski. Obviously, Solanke complicates things because then someone who would prefer to play wide ends up having to play through the middle, and they lose that focal point. But
I think they miss Maddison, Vish.
Yeah, you mentioned. I heard you mention it on the show. I think that was spot on. And you're, I'm similar to you in that. Like, I don't think he's brilliant, but he does want the ball.
He makes things tick, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's head up. He's confident. He doesn't care if he loses it. He wants it back.
And you also know the problem with Spurs, and a lot of people, Spurs fans, have complained about their lack of ball progression and things like that. And I suppose the problem comes from, if you don't trust the guy in possession of the ball, you're not going to make the run.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Porro still does.
Yeah, well, but you're not going to try and find an angle because you don't necessarily. There is enough doubt that the pass is going to be played or the ball is going to come to you that you don't give it your all. You kind of pull your punch when you're trying to make those off the ball runs, and that complicates things. This will be a really interesting game. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up in a pretty stale 1-1 draw.
Yeah. Do you think Amorim, from what you've seen of him in the past year or so, is likely to set Man United up to kind of with a sort of bespoke game plan to nullify Spurs in the way Luke mentioned, or is he just going to be system? We don't worry about the opposition. We just try and do our own thing.
I think it's one of the same. I think it'll be. I think the system will be the counter, really, to whatever Spurs try and do, because it gives the way Mbeumo and Cunha in particular have been operating, and then Fernandes, as they're like who arrives a bit later, is absolutely in that space where they could overawe Bentancur and Paulinho.
What's massive is that Romero's back.
Yeah.
Romero wasn't playing from the start against Chelsea, and he's not only a big leader for them and a proper top-level experienced pro, he also, in his own way, kind of sets up as many attacks as a midfielder would. He could be a big bonus for them, because I think the danger for Spurs comes from Cunha and Mbeumo in those spaces.
Yeah.
When they've got a lack of confidence and they've got no ball carrier to relieve the pressure on themselves, you can just see Cunha and Mbeumo being like proper pests. Yeah. And like Marcus talks about a lot, Cunha from distance, very dangerous player as well.
Yeah.
I think if a goal goes in early from Man United, and then therefore they have even less reason to attack. I mean, the crowd will go. Spurs will basically, my prediction is Spurs will retreat in themselves and they won't be able to do anything. And I think they'll play Odegaard on the left, and I think they'll play Simmons for the middle again. That's what I think they'll do.
Yeah.
Ruben Amorim said in his pre-match press conference, "We know as a club we made a lot of mistakes in the past, and we're trying to change that." So, I mean, hopefully aimed at Sir Jim and some of the others in the top of the club, but who knows? But he was also responding to comments Cristiano Ronaldo made in an interview with his old pal Piers Morgan. I say old pal, actually. They're sort of fairly recently new, because if you remember, Piers Morgan did write that article once saying we shouldn't cheer Cristiano Ronaldo, he's like a pathetic child or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, Piers won't thank me for reminding everybody of that.
He doesn't thank anyone for anything.
It's also like a
delighted to be
transactional.
spoken about, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Today,
the transactional friendship.
It's very much
Yes.
an absolute hallmark of the genre of content, which is, who is this for?
Yeah.
Piers Morgan interviews Cristiano Ronaldo. Just tell me, who is this for?
It's
for
very
each
much,
other.
Yeah, that's the correct answer.
It's very much for Piers, yeah. Ronaldo is a spoiled brat. Why cheer him was the actual headline he wrote. But there we are.
Did you hear how he opened this interview? I've got your aftershave on at the moment, Cristiano, and everyone keeps telling me I smell just like you.
Come and kiss me. What?
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
Proper 60-minute stuff.
So Ronaldo was saying that he thought that Amorim was doing a good job and he couldn't work miracles. But he did say that while some of the United players are good, others didn't have the mind of a player at the club. Would you agree with that, Vish?
You know what? Yeah.
I think it's probably fair enough.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Not helpful, though, is it? It's not in any way helpful.
But if he's asked a question,
but at least
Jim,
he's doing an interview with Piers Morgan where he's not contracted to the club.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that is a
Yes.
step in the right
This
direction.
is better, actually.
You
Yeah.
know what? I do like Amorim's response to that, which is essentially saying, we know as a club we made a lot of mistakes in the past and we're trying to change that. Essentially, the core of the messaging and everything he said in that interview was about looking forward and not looking backwards. And if he can essentially consistently get people at United to do that and try to change the narrative about that, and obviously results help that, and they're on a little unbeaten run, which makes it a lot easier, then that just makes everybody's life at the club easier, doesn't it?
I think it's absolutely vital. I think, far too often, Amorim, if you are going to criticise him for some of his mindset stuff, it's that he just looks like he's listening to Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory on loop forever.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely hit on something there, spot on. And Vish, I'm sure you'd agree. Someone needs to be big enough to go in there and say, forget that Alex Ferguson stuff. Just fucking forget it. That was one of the biggest shortcomings of Solskjaer. It became like a tribute act to that era. And for them to properly move on, someone has to do that. They have to say that.
And
The only previous manager to have done that?
Van Gaal, probably.
Yeah, to a point, but also Van Gaal was close enough to Ferguson that he used it as quite a useful crutch.
let's talk about Ralph Rangnick. Come on.
Yeah. Ralph Rangnick.
Specs on his little bike.
But he basically came in. He basically came in as an auditor.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Here's all the things wrong with it."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Okay, how do we fix this?" I don't know. I'm only here for a couple of months. This is literally not the job
my
of an
glasses
auditor.
aren't that thick.
Yeah. I'm here to tell you all the problems. You get someone
Yeah.
else to fix that.
Yeah.
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 Well, and he didn't, and the problems remain, but maybe Amorim can solve them. Now, everybody, Manchester United, they are on an unbeaten streak, you have to say. And so is Luke Moore when it comes to Jack's Encyclopedia.
Yeah, pressure's on though, isn't it?
He's the belt holder. He kept hold of it last week, and we've got a rematch from last week. It's Marcus v Luke v Vish. Luke is still that lineal champion. He's got the belt. Vish and I want it off it badly. He's got the My Biddy Aunt belt as well. That's safe. That's in the bag. That can't be touched unless Luke wants to put it on the line now.
It'd be hard, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Marcus, we got a team together to make sure Vish doesn't take it to Australia.
Don't start that.
We have to. We can't have Vish Australia for 2 months with the belt.
I'd like to beat you both.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I'm not even going to wear. It's going to be too hot to wear the belt.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it's the only thing you're wearing.
Good point.
I'd love to see that.
That's an excellent point. Jack's Encyclopedia will be available to listen to later today. Make sure to subscribe to the Football Ramble in your podcast app so you never miss an episode.